the next fundamental is my favorite, and it's called Fsgpt, yet another acronym, or Frequent Small Group Purposeful Talk About the Learning. If you've read the book, you probably know the logistics. What it is when you are delivering instruction, you stop every 10 or 15 minutes from your delivery and let the kids talk about what they had just learned, okay, in a small group. Now, why do you think they choose every 10 to 15 minutes? Attention span. Pretty much all cognitive research says that, and not just the little kids, us too, our attention span usually lasts about 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, so that's where the time frame comes from. The group size, the book recommends 2 to 4 kids, and we set 4 chairs at a table because we were aiming for that too. As soon as you get bigger than 4, things tend to get a little bit loose and a little bit messy. The 5th kid or a group of 5 tends to split into 2 groups of 2 and 3, and maybe 3 are talking purposefully, but those other 2 are off task. Okay, obviously a group has to be more than 1, so 2 to 4, and I'm betting that's where Kagan got his idea of grouping kids into 4 at a table. Okay, so logistics, we have every 10 to 15 minutes. And the book even tells a story about a teacher who used a timer, and a kid was in charge of the timer, and every 15 minutes that timer would ding, and the teacher would go right into Fsgpt. Okay? Now your groups of 4, if you're basing them on seating arrangement, are going to be constant throughout the year, or for as long as your seating arrangement is constant. Consider regrouping strategies, because that can get kids up and walking around, can shake up the groups, the group mixtures. It's a little bit fun. Something as simple as a deck of cards. Hand out a card to every kid when they walk in the door, and then when it's time for your first Fsgpt, you just say, all the 4s get over here, all the jacks get over here, all the 10s get over here, and they can regroup, get up, wakes them up a little bit. Okay. Now, why do we want the kids to talk? Communication is obviously very important. We have a clip to emphasize the importance of clear communication.
Poppy.
Oh, sweetheart, hello.
Poppy, this is Jerry.
Well,
hello, Poppy.
Don't fill up on the bread. I'm making you a very special dinner. Very special.
The pies. I'm going to the bathroom.
Yeah. Jerry, tonight you're in it for a real treat. I'm personally going to prepare the dinner for you and my Audrey.
Jerry, you okay?
Huh?
Is anything wrong?
Oh, nothing.
You look like you've seen a ghost.
Here it is.
Oh, wait till you taste this. Poppy, this is perfect.
Well?
Jerry, have some. You're not going to taste it? Jerry.
Obviously, talking is important, and if our kids are learning things but not getting a chance to talk about it, then some of them are going to end up eating some poopy pizza. That's just how it goes, okay? To get them to speak purposefully, the book recommends something called a seed question, okay? And you've seen a couple of those examples already. Now, thinking about the questions that get asked, questioning is one of the most important things and one of the most frequent things that teachers do in instruction. A lot of our questions are simple, low level, and knowledge recall type of questions. And those are very, very important. They're common, they're easy to come up with on the fly, and they tend to build towards bigger things. But seed questions really should be open-ended questions, because those are the ones that encourage actual talk, actual discussion. Okay, maybe some disagreement and arguments. And when kids argue about the stuff that they just learned, that's a good thing. Okay? One of my favorite ways to do this, and I taught some advanced kids, so they were the ones that really wanted to get the answer right and get that recognition. My favorite thing to do was to give them a multiple choice question. But the multiple choice question had 2 right answers. And I didn't tell them that it had 2 right answers. And the fights they would have, my goodness. And to see kids talking about chemistry and fighting about it just warms my heart. It's so wonderful. Because, I mean, it activates emotional centers in your brain that make you remember things. If you had a fight with somebody about something, you're going to go home and tell somebody about the fight that you had and all the details and all the reasons why you were right and they were wrong. So think about coming up with seed questions that are either open-ended, specifically to encourage discussion, or maybe multiple choice with multiple right answers. Maybe something where you give them things to rank, because when you start ranking things, different people are going to have different answers, and maybe for 2 separate good reasons. And all those things are really going to sort of crystallize whatever was just learned in their heads. One of my teachers, we were discussing this, a high school teacher, she said, I'm having trouble because every time I ask a seed question, the kids don't know what to say. And I said, well, what do you mean? Give me an example. And she said, well, I know we're trying to raise the rigor here in our classroom, so I'm asking these hard questions, but the kids don't have the background knowledge to know what to talk about, so the talk isn't really happening. And I said, I think you're kind of thinking backwards. Thank you for trying to raise the rigor by asking hard questions, but seed questions, I think, should really be about what happened already. And maybe leading into what you're about to discuss or what they're about to learn, but they're almost like a way to finalize, encapsulate, and crystallize what was just discussed or what was just learned by the kids. The book mentions something called bilingual students. Does anybody remember what they meant by bilingual? It's not English and Spanish.
No, it's that you're not talking on the same level, that you're, how do I explain that? That you're talking about 2 different things and you're not meeting in the middle when you communicate.
A bilingual student is a student that speaks student and adult.
Right.
And those kids that just speak student don't always understand what the adult teacher is saying. So our classrooms are full of those kids. I was a bilingual student when I was in class, and my teacher never, ever did this. But if they had, I would have had the opportunity to say to talk with some of my peers about the things that the teacher was saying that I got that they didn't get. And that would have helped them, and it would have helped me. Explaining something is the best way to really crystallize some knowledge that you have for your own good. So think about those bilingual kids and think about helping them help you reach the kids that only speak student, because there's plenty of those kids out there. And the kids like it. If any kid was in here and we asked them, do you like it when your teacher lets you talk? I think they would all say yes. During frequent small group purposeful talk, the teacher should be in the power zone. Okay, the teacher should be walking in and among the students and listening. The teacher really shouldn't be speaking during frequent small group purposeful talk, and that for me is the biggest challenge. As I've gotten kind of called around the district to teach a model lesson here or there, I'm always trying to throw in 2 or 3 seed questions, and it takes effort to shut up for me and to just listen. But it's good, just standing there and listening, and the kids will sometimes look at you and they'll ask questions and just don't say anything, and they start talking more and they start answering each other's questions. It's a pretty neat effect. And it sure does help me, as the teacher, learn what they actually know for formative purposes. You guys teach 80-minute blocks, right? I see your kind of plans up there on the wall. So if you think about the 15-minute-ish time requirement, in any given lesson, you're probably going to want 4-ish seed questions. And those. The purpose of that template and forethought for lesson planning is that those seed questions go right underneath talk about the learning. So talk about the learning, 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, done. Your Fsgpt is planned for that lesson. There is a quick little activity we have for you to do. This list of 20 everyday words was read to teachers who were instructed to listen and remember as many words as they could. After the list was read, teachers wrote down however many words they could remember. While most teachers only remembered 6 or 7 words, over 90% of teachers were able to recall the first 2 and last 2 words read. This activity illustrates something known as the primacy-recency effect, which says that the brain best remembers what it hears first and what it hears last, or most recently. Applying that principle to a class period means we have primacy at the beginning of class and recency at the end of class. Those are two opportunities for vibrant memory creation. However, the middle of class, memory creation is less vibrant over time. Inserting one session, just one session of frequent small group purposeful talk into a lesson provides a lot more opportunity for vibrant memory creation, as there's a lot more primacy and recency occurring. In summary, frequent small group purposeful talk has a few key points. The frequency should be about once every 10 to 15 minutes based on normal attention span. Group size should be between 2 and 4 students. Making the talk purposeful requires a carefully scripted seed question to be shown to the students. The teacher should be in the power zone while the talk is happening, not talking themselves, but rather listening only to what the students are saying. Bilingual students are those who can speak both adult and student. A session of frequent small group purposeful talk allows the bilingual students an opportunity to translate what the teacher is saying to the other peers. The primacy-recency effect provides further research basis for why frequent small group purposeful talk is important.